Hi, I'm Shelly James and welcome to Shelly Loves to Paint. In today's lesson, we're going to be doing part 2 of this haunted house. All ready for Halloween. We're going to be decorating this up with fun little jack-o'-lanterns, details on the house, bats flying in the air, shrubs and trees, and more. So let's get started. Don't forget to go back and watch part 1, which will get you to this point where we've created the background, the night sky, the moon, the house, and the foreground and all of the details on the house. And then come back and watch this one if you want to come and do all of the spooky details. Okay. And you can pick and choose of all the things that I do in this today. You can pick and choose which things you like. If you prefer not to have it quite so spooky, but maybe just a little more autumn look to it, omit some of those things like the bats and so forth. So it's yours. Make it yours and have fun with it. Okay. All right, let's get started. So today I just want to share with you what I did before I started this lesson was I came in with my chalk and I just kind of sketched in where I wanted to put more in the design. So I've put in a jack-o'-lantern over here, just shapes. I'm not doing details with the chalk. Just these jack-o'-lanterns here. I know I want to put some shrubs right here around the edge of the house. On this side, I'm going to put a tree over here, and then we've got a bat here and up here, and then I've sketched another one over here in pencil. Okay, so just so we know where placement is going to be. And with the pumpkins, for sure, I'm going to base coat those with white first because I want to have my orange colors pop. And orange being a transparent color, you've got to have a lighter, brighter base behind it for those colors to pop when you put them on. So let's do that first so that white can dry, and we can, while that's drying, we'll work on some of the other things that we need to do. Okay, so I'm going to take a 16 flat and I'm just going to get some wicker white. All right, and we're going to come here. Let's grab a lot more of that. There we go. And just fill in the shape for each of these pumpkins. Okay. And some can be round, some can be wider. I like it when they kind of overlap and touch each other. So let's bring this one over here more. Okay. And then I've got a tall, skinny one here on the front porch or next to it. Big guy. There. And we have a little one right here. Okay. And then another big one here. Let's grab a bunch more white. There. All right, so we've got about 5 pumpkins just laying out there in the foreground, and then we can work around those with all of our other finishing touches. So kind of a back to front process on this. I want to go ahead, let's get our bats in place, and then we can work on the trees, a little more detail on the house, etc. So we'll have a full lesson on adding details for sure. So I've got a 8 flat here. Actually, let's work with a 6 because I want to be able to do them all without switching brushes. So 6 flat I think will work with the smallest bat. And so I'm going to get Licorice on my 6 flat, quite a bit of it. And let's come down closer. There we go. All right, so right over here. So the easiest way I've found to do a kind of realistic looking spooky bat, Halloween bat, right? Not realistic in nature, is you have kind of this oval shaped body. Okay, let's come over here a little more. And then a round head on top, like that. And then the wings come out from the body. They come up on a curve, and you can make them as pronounced of a curve as you like. Right, on both sides. Make them come out at the same point on both sides of the body, up on that curve. And then from that curved top, you're going to come down and then do points successively back to the body, getting shorter as you go. So the widest point on those wings is on the outside, and then they get skinnier as they come back to the body. So again, here we're going to come up right to that tip, and then point, point, and back to the body. And you can have 3 points or 4 points, 2 points, however many you would like to have, but that's your bat. Okay. Now, I want to do some highlight on these, but I want the black to dry before I do that because the highlight I want to do is a yellow. And so I don't want, you can't side load a yellow onto black and have it look right. It just kind of dulls it. So I'm going to let those dry and we'll come back and do some highlighting. It'd be different if it was white because you can side load white and it turns into a pretty gray, but I want yellow, so because of the moonlight reflection. All right, so this one's bigger, this one's gonna be closer, that one's further away. Oh, and before I forget, they need little ears. They're not horns, they're ears. So little chisel curves on the top of the head there. All right, so this guy here, he's bigger, he's closer. He's still going to have that same oval shaped body. Okay, and then rounded head on top. And make that just a little bit bigger than the body so it looks like it's separate. Okay. And then your ears here, little points. And once all this dries, if you don't go right over your chalk lines, if there is any visible chalk lines, you can always take a damp cloth after everything's dry and you can remove those. All right, so here I'm going to come right through the body. That makes sure I've got my wings placed in the same spot on either side. And then you're going to go out to that point and then out to the tip. And then you go point, you're pivoting, right? You can come from the inside too. You can come here and pivot, 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 and then out to the tip, right? And you just fill in the rest. Right, and you can take a script liner even if you can't get real fine points on these tips. See, like right there? You can use a script liner if you can't get that off your flat brush. All right, so out here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come to a tip on the chisel. We'll come back to the body here. And then from that point, we're going to go in and chisel, pivot, chisel, pivot, chisel, and back to the body. And then just fill that in. Okay, so he's kind of fun. And then we'll do a third one under the tree. There's going to be a tree right here, and I'm going to have a bat right there under the tree. Okay, so we'll do the body and the head first. Head. Little ears. and then chisel across the body, out to the tip, bring that curve around, and then down. Okay. And then we can come from the body here, point, point. You're going up on the chisel each time to get those points, and then to the flat to go in between and chisel to the point, okay? All right, and then here, point, point. I need more paint. Keep not picking up enough. Point, and back to the body. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I missed one. We'll put one right there. Okay. So with this, I feel like, let me just side load a little bit of white because I don't think you can quite see. We're going to come up here, point, 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 and then to the body. Okay, so it matches either side. I'll come over that with yellow, but I just wanted you to see because it didn't look, it looked too wide when I first looked at it. So anyway, all right, cleaning that brush. And now we can work on all the kind of soft shrubbery around the base of the house, and then come forward as we work on each of the pumpkins. Okay, so let's come back up just a little, right there. And I'm going to get a Scruffy brush. So this is a 1/2 inch Scruffy Donna Dewberry 1-stroke painting brush. And I'm going to pounce, well, no, excuse me, first. Let's do our tree trunks. So let me come to, this is a 10 flat. And I'm going to get, this is burnt umber. Let's get a little bit of licorice and some burnt umber. And double load that. Grab the licorice, come over and side stroke next to the burnt umber to double load a smaller brush, right? Anything smaller than a number 12 flat, you want to do it that way. And so right here, we're going to have a trunk of a tree. Okay, so dark color down. We're going to get the base of that trunk, and then we're going to stroke up into the tree. All right, and remember, this is a whimsical design, so it doesn't have to be perfect like a tree would be, but you can have a few branches coming off here. And let's put one up here. Okay, just a couple. You don't have to go into a lot of detail on this, okay? So just a fun little tree. And then what I like to do to kind of bring it into the ground, we're going to pounce a little bit of shrubs in front of it, but I'm just going to kind of tap in and ground that tree right there so you don't see the roots. Okay. Over here we're going to have some shrubs. You could even do a few skinnier things. I'm not going to do that. All right, so now we can come to our 1/2 inch Scruffy. And I'm going to do autumn trees. All right, so we have some Pueblo here, and I've got some yellow ochre over here. I'm going to use the Pueblo for other things, so that's why I have them so separated. But I'm going to pounce into Pueblo and then pounce into yellow ochre. Let me set this aside. So you really want to be able to put that color into the brush. So it takes some firm pouncing. You want to hear that sound. as you're loading that color into the brush, okay? And then I might tap into a little bit of white on the ochre and work that in. So I've got a fully loaded brush here, lots of paint, and we're ready to go. So I'm going to come right up here to the top of my tree, and we're going to firmly pounce. Tap forward, tap back, tip forward and back. Keep picking up color. Let me get a little more white. Okay, tap the bottom with the darker color, tip forward, get the lighter color, or pounce them all together. Right. Pull that down. All right, just a fun little tree design. Come across and over into the side of the house. Okay, so that was fun. Now I'm going to take that same color and we can come over here on this side and we can tap a little more in the background, just a little bit of softened shrubbery back here. Get a little more of that Pueblo. There we go. And then I want to get a little bit of the burnt umber. So on the Pueblo side, I can tap into some burnt umber and bring that right down here into the middle. Let's add a little bit of that in our tree over here too. Okay. All right, I'm going to wipe this off on paper towel because I don't want to go to water. I just want to get as much of this color off the brush as I can, and then I'm going to switch to some green shrub colors loaded on this brush. So I've got Thicket, and this is Alfalfa. This is a matte color versus our multi-surface colors, which is a satin finish. I'm going to go ahead and tap between those two. All right, that's going to give me a little more muted. This is not as bright as a citrus green. We want this to be a little less bright for this look. Okay, so I can come right in here. See, it's a lot more muted, not quite so vibrant. And we're going to come right forward. We can go off the side, come around this pumpkin with the dark. Get a little bit more. Oops. Come right in between these. Different heights. So it's not just a flat hedge, okay? All right, just to kind of fill that in. And you could even come get a little bit of the yellow ochre on that moss or that alfalfa green. And because this is a fall look, and these colors are going to be more likely to be found in a fall landscape, you can add some layers of that in these. Just keep that dark bottom edge, okay? And then come over on this side and do a little bit of the same. And kind of tap that out. So you don't lose your hill back there, right? And you have a little bit of layered shrubs in here. Let's get a little bit of that yellow ochre right there. And we'll get a little more of this lighter green and the Thicket there. So we just want to kind of bring that around and off the edge. We'll do the same thing over here. So you don't lose those hills in the back, and you've got a little bit of shrubs to kind of soften around the base of the house. Okay, and that gives something for your pumpkins to show up against even more than the flat brown that we had. Okay. All right, now I want to, just to finish up the background where this fence is going to be, I'm going to keep going with this Thicket right in here. But what I'm going to do is we're going to take the brush this way and we're going to streak it up to make some taller grasses. And you can do lighter colors or darker colors or hold it horizontally like I had. Let's get just a touch of white in there. There we go, just to bring that in front of the shrubs I just pounced. And come right around here next to the pumpkin. Then I like to come in with a little bit of brown in the foreground to finish that out. Do the same thing over here on the side. Get a little bit of white. Ooh, that's a lot of white. Wipe some of that off. Let's get some yellow ochre. Maybe that'll be better. Yeah. And then the brown. And after we do our pumpkins, we could do more of this if we want. All right, but this will give that fence some background. Okay. You can even come right up under here underneath our pumpkin and just kind of set that a little more. It's already brown, you're just adding a little more texture in here because it's closer. And like I said, we can come up and do more after we put the pumpkins in there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and clean that brush. And let's come back to, let's get a script liner, 2 script liner, a little bit of water. And we can come to our brown, burnt umber, get that a little inky, work it into the brush all the way up the bristles, and then give it a twist as you come out. And what you can do with this now is come from the tree branches here and pull. So that's a little too watery. Take that on paper towel, get a little more firm brown. There we go. So you're just adding, streak through a little bit of black. I think that'll help. Yeah, there we go. All right, so you're just adding a little bit of branch parts of the trunk, bringing that forward. Just a few bits of it here and there. And if you get up too high, you can always come back in with your background colors and tap those back out. All right, kind of bury the tips. So just have fun with that. And you could do a few of the branches on the shrub too if you want to. Okay, just show a few sticking out, that's all. Okay, now with those same colors on your brush, you can come, let's get a little more black with that. And we can do some climbing vines even on our building here. Now that requires, I think, just a touch of white. so that they show up. There we go. And you can have them wind around, come from back here, thicker down here. A little bit of black, brown, streak through a little bit of white. Okay, that's kind of fun. You can do that there. You can add some over here as well. Maybe coming up from behind these shrubs. Okay, so just a few here and there I think will be good. It also might be kind of fun to put them up on the chimney. Right, have it like this creaked up through here, and then we have some coming up on the chimney. Need a little more white with that or it won't show up. Let's put the white on there first and then come in with the black underneath it. So that's kind of fun. Have it go around this back here. A little more water. Okay. All right, and then while I'm up here, I thought it would be fun to get just some inky licorice, so continuing with this brush with water, maybe not quite so much. Get some inky licorice. And you can put some fun little curls off the tops of the points of this house. So you could put one there. And we could come over here on this top one here. Let's come way up. And we'll do a straight line to the top. And then from there, you could do a push and lay down. And then a pull out. So with these curls, you do them in 3 pieces, right? You come back to the stem, you come from that point down, and then you come from the curve back to that point. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're doing things like that. I don't like the top of this, so I'm going to change this a little bit. Let's get a little bit of white now. And we'll run a highlight on some of these. All right, then come back to our black, and on the top of this point here, let's put a little point there. All right, so touch and lift and pull down. A little bit more water. Don't make these perfect. They need to be kind of craggy looking and bent a little bit. This will look like it's going over the back side of the house, like I did over there. And this can come down here. And then we'll do one more. Now, on the top of this, the black, I can show you the black is not going to show very well. So we're going to add a touch of white, just streak through a little bit of white. Push, lift, pull it down. Okay. Get a little bit more water. All right, so you have a little bit of white in there, but not quite enough. Let me just get a little bit more. There we go. So you don't want to turn it white. You just want to highlight it a bit so that it shows up against that dark. Okay, see that? So just have a little fun with these. There we go. All right. See, these all need a little bit of white on them so that they look a little better. There. Okay. So I'm having a good time. I hope you guys are too. Just doing lots of different little fun things with this design. Let's come back to our bats just to kind of finish those out. I'm going to grab that 10 flat that I had before. We're going to get some floating medium worked into that, and then I'm going to come and get side stroke some daffodil yellow. Okay, and because we're up against this moon, you can give the black on these a little glow. You're going to float a little yellow along the top edges. A little head, especially right here. This will help this show up against that dark sky right there. And see how that just kind of wakes him up a little bit? Now, that yellow is okay, but I feel like to blend or go with my moon, maybe I should use a little bit of burnt or yellow ochre instead, all right? Because that's not looking, so there we go. All right, so it's the yellow ochre that I want to use on that, not the daffodil. We'll use the daffodil for our pumpkins. There, that looks better. That looks more in tune with the color of the sky. All right, so medium. We're going to side load some more yellow ochre. Let's come over to this guy. So think about where the moon is in relationship to the bat itself. So if the moon's over here, it's going to be this part of the bat really that's going to have that reflection. So now you can come down here on these points, here, here, get the right side of, right side of his body. You can even go up a little bit here. All right. So see how that lights him up? And you're just doing it on that one side of the body. The rest of it can just be black. All right, so then on this one, because the house is in the way, maybe this is the side, especially since we did this white on here. This is the part that we do the highlight on. There. All right, and that gets rid of that white. Come up here, maybe that side of his head, down his body. So see that? It gives them a little dimension. They don't look quite so flat anymore. You could even with this same yellow, let's light up a little bit of what I put white up here on the chimney. Right, and come around that edge. That'll give moon glow to the house. It's very subtle. Come along here, up at the top of this peak, here, and definitely on this side of our tower top, right there. So we're lighting up the top of our house. It kind of adds to a little bit of a spooky look to it too. There. Make sure you're using that medium because otherwise it'll get real heavy. I got a little heavy right there. There. Okay. So you can even come along these little curly tops that we put on here, lightning rods or whatever you want to call them, and yellow those out where I put the white. Will help them look like they're glowing in the moon as well. And the other thing you can do is with this same load on your brush is everywhere there is a window to create kind of a glow of coming out of the light coming out of that window. You can come along up against the outside of the window with that yellow and shade or float. Let's get a little bit of daffodil with that. We want that a little bit brighter. There we go. So it's giving that spray of light coming out the window. Let's do it here. And go right up, actually go right up against that window edge. There. All right, and that just glows up that side. See? And a little bit more yellow here. work that in. You don't want it heavy. It should be thin, floated over the color of the house. See there? It's very subtle. Come over the door a little bit. And just work that in. There, I like that. That's fun. Okay, so now let's put in our fence and our pumpkins, and I think we'll be in good shape. So continuing with this 10 flat, I just cleaned that. I'm going to load it with all burnt umber. All right, and then I think for this to be kind of a fun looking fence, let's come and side stroke some Pueblo. Okay, give it a little bit of a fall look. Okay, now I kind of lost my lines, but that's okay. I've got one right up here to start. We can come stroke down. So you're leading with the dark, pulling the light behind, so this shows up against that dark background. And then we'll put another one right here. And then we'll come down here, right into the ground. And we're going to come behind these pumpkins, and they're going to get bigger because they're coming closer to you. The fence posts are. So keep them kind of cockeyed. We're going to push a little harder, make them a little thicker. It's coming behind the pumpkin. And then we'll come over here. We'll get higher and come behind the pumpkin. And then we'll finish up with a taller one here, all the way down. Okay, and that's kind of fun with that Pueblo edge on there. So then all you have to do is connect them. Okay, and a little more brown. There we go. So that's kind of fun. All right, so now adding the pumpkins. As I was saying before, if you didn't want this to necessarily be a haunted house, but you wanted it to be kind of a fall looking house and you put pumpkins out, then don't put the faces, right? You don't have to do jack-o'-lantern faces on them if you don't want to. So the easiest way to do these pumpkins, real quick, is I'm going to take, yeah, I think I'm going to keep working with this 10 flat. And I'm going to start out with Pueblo. And then I'm going to come and side stroke some daffodil yellow on one edge. And let's dip into a little bit of pure orange to brighten up that Pueblo a little bit, okay? So Pueblo is our base, side stroking daffodil yellow, adding pure orange to the Pueblo just to brighten it up a little bit. And so we're going to stroke these pumpkins very quickly. You're just kind of filling them in because we're not doing close up of a pumpkin. You're not going to see all the segment lines and stuff so much, especially when we start adding the faces. Right, so you're just trying to go, let's get a little more of that yellow. You can pull some of that yellow down here just to create a little bit of highlight, okay? All right, so here, It's just brighter in the middle and more orange on the outside, okay? And then again, you can come in with some yellow. And add some streaks. Or you can get a little bit of the Pueblo, more of the Pueblo, and come up from the bottom. This is a bigger one, so you might see a little more. And the closer ones will do the same. Okay. So we'll come over here. Now with this one being closer, now we can do a little more detail with those segments. So you start with the outside. And get more of the yellow, and then you're going to overlap and then we'll finish up here. There. All right, and then we'll do these two. And then add our stems and faces. Okay, so here. And all I'm making sure on here, one of the things I'm making sure is when I did that white background color, that I'm covering that up. I don't want any white edges showing, okay? Okay, there we go. And then this big guy right here. I'm going to overlap. And right through the front. Okay. All right, so you could leave them just like that and add stems, or you can do faces on them, which is what I'm going to do. And so to make these faces, you can either make them glowing like they have candles inside, but I feel like the easier way is just to do licorice with black, and it's more, I think, ties in with the black bats and other things, kind of pulls it all together. Okay, so you can do it either way. First, let's put our stems on. So I'm going to come and let's get a script liner. And we'll pick up burnt umber. Okay, and let's streak through a little bit of daffodil yellow. So burnt umber with some daffodil. And we can come right up here and add a stem or stem on this one. These are far away, so you don't necessarily have to do a ton of detail on this part. Let's get a little bit of water because it's gotten dry on me. And I want this one to have kind of a curl. There we go. So with that little bit of yellow, and again, that ties in with the yellow theme. or tone, I should say. All right. And then over here, let's switch. I'm going to keep that brush ready and loaded, although it might dry out on me. Let's grab a 6 flat and get burnt umber. And let's side load some yellow ochre. Okay. And we can come here. We're just going to put short little stubby stems on these. There we go. And let's grab a little more yellow ochre. We can pull up from here, up from here. And over on this one, we're going to make a curl, and then we're going to come down, 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 down. So now against this green hedge backdrop and the yellow ochre that's in that, we need to make a few adjustments. Because that yellow ochre is not going to show up. So what we need to do is add a little dark, that licorice, to the stem. Darken that up, and then it will stand out a little more with the yellow ochre. There. Do that. And then finish with this one. Now I'm going to turn, because all of mine have been curling to the left. Let's curl this one to the right. So we're going to come up here, and we're going to give them a big tall curl right there. And then we'll do our points into our pumpkin and come up. All right, and then let's grab our yellow ochre. You know what, for this, I'm going to come, like I said, I was going to come to the script liner, but it did dry up a bit on me, so let's clean that. And we'll grab yellow ochre. And there we go. We can grab some licorice. Okay. So let's come over here and we'll add a little more there too. A little bit more here. I'm going to get just a little white on here because there's just so much color here, it's not showing up. Okay. There, that white helped now with the yellow to show up over it. There. Okay. All right, so pretty pumpkin stems. So our faces, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of sketch those on with Licorice on this script liner. And you can do whatever faces you like. I just like the standard triangle. Right, like that. And you can do the up, down kind of W. Okay. Or the other ones I like are their circular eyes. Triangle nose. And then they have kind of little wavy lines for a mouth. Okay. So this one, because it's kind of facing to the right, you want to think about that as you're putting that face on. Right, so this side here is going to actually be bigger because it's closer. Angle the nose. Okay. And we'll do, oh, let's see. A little more fancy with the triangles on this one. And we'll do the wavy mouth on this. And let's do circles on this one. And you can go out on the internet and find all kinds of different types of faces. All right, and then once you get these done, you can come in with that same brush and just side swipe some white. And then on each one of these, do a little highlight on one side and the bottom. Right, so here, 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 bottom. Just to give them a little bit of depth. And you could do that with actually, thinking about that now, instead of doing it with white, let's do it with the daffodil yellow. Oh, that's better. So left side and bottom is what I'm doing. Very loose, okay? So it just looks like a highlight over that black. There. Okay, then to finish all of this off, let's come back to, I'm going to grab a rake brush here. So I'm going to get a rake brush and get some water with that, a little bit of Thicket, a little bit more water, a little bit of Thicket, and this Alfalfa. Okay, and you can come right up in between and just pull up some grass at the base of these pumpkins. Just kind of sets them like they've been there a little while, or they're sitting in the grass. Here, let's grab just a touch of yellow. Yeah, that'll wake that up just a little bit. More Thicket. Right here. Straight up, or you can kind of curve them. A little bit of that yellow right there. There we go. I don't want too much yellow or white because remember, this is supposed to be a nighttime picture, so we don't want to brighten it up too much. Let's grab a little bit of brown too while we're down here. There we go. And you can just kind of scumble that up a little bit. Little bit of yellow. There we go. All right, so that just kind of brightens it up, and it looks like the glow from the pumpkin is hitting the grass in front. Let's get a little bit of burnt umber with that over here. There. Just kind of soften the edges of those paths, or edge of the path, I should say. And little bits in front of the fence. There. Okay. Well, guys, I think this has actually turned out to be something pretty cool. And there's so much you can do. You decide how much detail you want to put into it. I'm going to go ahead now and just get some inky. Let's get some inky pure orange. And we will sign this. That's not showing up. Let's try some yellow. There. And we will sign that and call it done. Our cute little Halloween haunted house landscape. How fun is that? So lots you can do on this. You can decide, pick and choose, or do the whole thing. Please share when you're done. I'd love to see how it turned out for you. Make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified every time I come on. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Leave me comments on things you'd like to see in the future. And I will see you on another Shelly Loves to Paint very, very soon. Take care. Love you guys. Bye-bye.